Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995 Studio A. And now onto the show.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it, and I would love it if you call in and ask me some questions. I'm here to answer, especially if you have my book. Just go to any page and there's something that you want to hear. I'm here to give you the answer. 888-994-4995. Well, welcome. We have a rather large studio audience here, so anybody that wants to ask me questions, please start now. I'm looking forward to it.
I'd like to take you back to when this all started for you,
okay,
if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
And when you, which came first, your astral projections or your starting the message you got to draw?
The message I got to draw. Well, no, because that was, I believe, a type of out-of-body experience, as you know. So really, it happened at the same time. I got the messages to start to draw, and then the next thing I know, I'm flying all around everywhere. So. Basically, in answer to the question, it was kind of at the same time.
So when you started to draw, it was kind of juvenile at the beginning, and but depicted things.
That's a good question. Yeah. So I thought, Steve,
yes,
it
depicted things that you could not have drawn had you not seen them for real at some point in your past lives.
Yeah, for me, it was very childlike. And if the viewers here, anyone has my book, if you open up, and one of my first pieces of art were very, very childlike. I had no idea what I was doing, but it did somehow tell me that I could sketch and I was doing something. And then when Aldo, of course, saw them, I had much more explained to me, yes. So that was a good question. They both happened at the same time.
So continuing with that, your artwork evolved from old scenes from different civilizations to more modern art. And then you went through a Monet type period, and now you've got an abstract period.
Right. Well, the beginning, I think although I didn't know it, I was opening up to myself of what I was meant to be doing, because when my art was going, I was drawing, it was basically from previous lives of things that I had never seen in this lifetime or that I wasn't aware of. So it had to be something for me. I mean, not be that way with everybody. I had to have something really dramatic happen to me for me to open up my memory, which Aldo, my guide, if you have my book, Adam here, had told me that he knew me in past lives and that I knew everything that I now was getting in touch with many lifetimes ago. I would never have known that. If no one had been telling me all this, I would have thought I was out of my mind. But then I did look at my sketching, which looked childlike in the beginning, and he's explaining to me in many details of my artwork that this was in this lifetime, this is the signs and symbols that they used in that particular lifetime. I go into the internet, never having seen any of this, and I see basically things that look like my art, my sketching in the very beginning. Then later on, when I kind of got accustomed to that and understood what I was doing, it then went into very much abstract artwork, as you know.
So in each of these different segments of this experience for you, what was your aha moment from time to time to move forward? And
synchronicity, it was showing itself all the time to me. And I mean, basically I was drawing, I was, as I am now, in a trance-like state, as you would say. I'm not completely here, I'm here and somewhere else. And I'm drawing things basically with my eyes kind of even closed. And when I saw the canvas afterwards, or at that time on pieces of paper, I couldn't imagine that anyone, it's not me, I'm not special, it just happened to me, that anybody could have done this with their eyes closed, basically. I had 2 cataracts in my eyes, actually, so I really couldn't even see properly. I was waiting for cataract surgery. So that, to me, was proof for myself that something was going on. Thank you, that was good.
How do you believe in synchronicity versus coincidence?
No, I don't believe anything is coincidence, as you know, but we don't always recognize it. Sometimes synchronicity is something that you're validated with coincidence can happen, but it won't keep repeating itself. I believe that synchronicity does, because we meet someone and then we'll meet that person again and we'll say something, and then the same thing will happen a little bit later. If there is coincidence, well, I say there isn't coincidence. Of course, there is coincidence. It could not may not necessarily be synchronicity, but it won't keep repeating itself.
Is that the difference?
There is a difference, because you'll get many messages. Once you open up, I think the answer to that would be, once you open up to the fact that it's synchronicity, you are shown more. If you just say coincidence, which still could be synchronicity, and you think it's still coincidence, it won't keep repeating itself. That's coming to me very strong.
You got that, Freddie?
Uh-huh.
He's looking in bewilderment.
Yes, and I see him.
I'm trying to figure out the chicken or the egg. Message delivered through your artwork. Which one is it? Is it the artwork delivering the message, or the message being delivered through the artwork?
Great question.
That is a great question. Can you phrase it again so that I get the correct answer?
Can
here?
you phrase that again? Because
No,
I
it's
know
not
I
that you
can't.
didn't do it right. I think we broke the little chain of how I get my messages. So if you could just say it again.
Artwork. Is the artwork the message delivered, or is it the message you're delivering through the artwork?
I think it's a little of both. Because I get a message and I'm painting or I'm doing the artwork, but I'm not aware even that I may have gotten that message, because I'm drawing, let's say, which I did in the beginning, from a previous lifetime. So the messages keep coming to me, because how would I know what to draw? So it's a little of both. I'm getting messages and I'm getting messages and putting it onto paper, so the messages are coming first to me. Then I'm transmitting that through art of what I do. Because I have never seen a lot of the things that I did in the beginning. I had no idea that these signs and symbols even existed. So they would have had to, now I'm getting deeper into it, I would have had to have been given the message to be able to draw it. I wouldn't just draw it without a message. That makes sense, right?
But is this a message for you, or is this a message for others? Because I would think one is inward and then the artwork is outward.
Right. So it's a message for me in the beginning, absolutely 100%, because I'm drawing. Then it's for everybody that wants to look at it. Then the message is for everybody once it's on paper, because I can't talk to everybody, but that's my way of showing what happened to me. I hadn't seen these things. I don't even know what I've drawn. So other people can follow the same path and can understand more, that there's so much more going on that we're unaware of. I have to look at the camera. Yeah, I know. It's like, I know I'm talking to you and I'm so used to looking at people, so I'm looking at the camera.
No, because I see that people come in and they ask you questions about their future, their past, their present.
Right.
And they want you to decipher what you've sensed for them in the future.
And I do that. So the message has to come through me. I'm like the instrument. And then I'll deliver the message to the person. I usually know who it's for, because if it kind of attracts, it makes itself known. So if I'm talking to someone, the spirits who are giving me the messages are giving me for that specific person. It's not, if it was a crowded room, then a message would come to me, but I don't know who it's for in the room, because if there's maybe 30, 40 people in the room, I have no idea at that point. I can be led in the direction, but that person will know specifically it would be for them. But when it's on a one-to-one, the person, I get the answers for that person, or a premonition, whatever that person might want to hear, or hear from someone that passed. I'm more inclined to get messages, as I do on the show, of what really is going on in the world, in our and what's going even on in the future, or where we're going. I get a lot of those messages, which is general.
So if I were to ask you for a message, and you were to be able to paint it, draw it, can you do that because of me asking, or is this your interpretation of the answer that you're painting?
It's a little of both again. It's your question, and now I'm interpreting it because you have given me the question, and I have obviously, because I've done it, been able to put it on paper or canvas. So the question...
it's my answer that you're painting?
Well, my my answers that are on canvas are questions, are things that are coming from another lifetime. So I really don't know who would be asking that, probably myself, saying I need to do something that has no way that I could even understand this or know about it because it's from another lifetime. So they're telling me things from other lifetimes of the signs and symbols that I've seen, because I wouldn't know what to ask myself at that point, and I'm actually transmitting that onto paper. I mean, I proved it for myself, and my passion is to let people know that this is possible, because had someone have told me this story before it happened to me, I would have probably doubted it. I can't, because it was me that was doing the paintings and the
We'd have to
drawings.
bring Aldo back to interpret the painting.
Well, he interpreted it, but I already have a start here then, because I wouldn't have known even if he had not, and that's a very good question too, because had he have not been in my life to see what I had drawn, how would I know that was from previous lifetimes? I wouldn't have known to go into the internet at that time and say, what is this? It might not have been, because it's a painting, it might not have been, well, AI today might, but.
But I'm curious, if I were to ask you a question, ask you to paint it, can you do it?
Well, I've never really tried. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yes, probably yes. I mean, anything is possible, and I've kind of proved that into myself. Because if I can draw things that I absolutely had not seen in this lifetime, that were symbols from centuries ago that people used, and it was even on, I believe, well, it may have been on artwork, but it was around. I had not seen them in this lifetime. I know what I've seen in this lifetime. I don't remember what I've seen in other lifetimes, but my memory came back through something in my mind because I was able to draw it, which to me, even if people don't understand it, I didn't, but I had to acknowledge it because I'm doing it.
Well, when Dawn asks you a question about past lives, can I give you a pad and you can draw it without answering her, or do you have to answer her and then draw it?
I probably could draw it, but I think, verbally, to talk questions and to speak actually helps, because I hear things, but sometimes the spoken word is very important too, because although I can't necessarily do telepathy, I can understand or maybe know what you're talking about, the spirits can through telepathy, and somehow I'm able to understand what they're saying. If you said to me, are you telepathic? I don't know, maybe I do hear voices, but I can't go around telling people that. I can only do it.
Just like when Sally goes into a trance to answer these questions and gets her help from her people, that's what happens when she paints. If she goes into the studio,
that's exactly right.
Goes into a trance.
But I also want to know how Aldo was able to interpret in your book, we talked about this.
Okay,
he was able to interpret what you're painting. So
Yes.
obviously, if he can interpret it, he's seen it, he understands
Well,
it.
he was very far advanced, much more than I am at this point. So he was able, because he actually could remember lifetimes ago. We've had many lives, so you don't remember all the lifetimes, but the ones that are specific and that you need to know if you're doing something, as I was, he was bringing back the memory of the lifetime that I was drawing and putting it on canvas, because he was able to do that. If you suddenly brought all your lifetimes back, if you suddenly all at once, it wouldn't work. You have to have, I'm not going to say a memory loss, because we do wipe it out, but when it's important, we bring it back. That's what he was doing with my artwork. He'd go into a room, especially what he's written in my book, and he'd stay there for 3 or 4 hours with what he's written in my book, which is only on one page. So to me, I obviously needed to have that validation of what I was doing, because if someone just said you're writing from drawing something from a previous life and had no answers what that previous life was, I would find it difficult to believe. But I believed him because he went in detail, absolutely in detail. So, and we were in many lifetimes together, and part of it is in history. Without going into it, you can look it up. And I was actually seeing without drawing it, I didn't draw everything, seeing the things from that lifetime. And I said, was that particular chair there, or was the bed like this? And because he had recalled these lifetimes, he was able to give me the answer. I might have thought he was just saying yes to me, but too much was happening to Aldo. I knew that I was correct in what I was saying when he said yes to me. It would have been very overwhelming for me too, had it have all come back. at the same time, but his words were to me as all this was happening. And even now, all these years later, I'm still remembering things that were happening to me at that time with Aldo. He's not here, well, he's somewhere else to answer my questions, but he would say continually to me, little by little by little. It took him 18 years of his last part of his life to explain all that I know today. A lot came from him in person. The rest is now coming from him from some other dimension. I'm absolutely certain of that.
When people see, not everyone sees their past lives, but if something, I want to say trigger, opens up that portal that you see it, is it because it's time for you to see it? Is it there's another message in seeing it? Because it may not be a past life that was necessarily something good. Maybe it ended in a bad way.
But that's still important because we have imprints from other lifetimes. And, you know, I was just saying this to Steve the other day. There's certain masks that I just cannot look at. It scares me. But I need to know because I need to know why I can't look at that particular mask. So it's bringing back, we only bring back what's important for this lifetime because we can't bring, we've had so many, we only bring the significant things that are important for this lifetime. I think I got off the subject a little bit.
No, you're good.
Okay.
So when you bring in a past life, it's because it's significant in this lifetime.
Yes, absolutely. Because I had many lifetimes with Aldo, but he only talked about the ones that would benefit, really benefit, because we're in this life. So we can't go around like, oh, this is what happened in another lifetime and this is what happened. We're going to bring what would be significant for this lifetime back into our lives today. So, and I believe this too, because many people have hypnosis and they go into previous lifetimes. I believe, and I've not discussed this with anyone, well, except Aldo, that you're only going to take yourself back because they can only tell you, where are you? We answer that in a lifetimes that would be helping and beneficial for this particular lifetime. Or certain memories of something we may not like, of a mask that I know that I can't look at. So it's good to know because when you face that, then it becomes easier.
And if people feel this is a past lifetime, it could, they really believe that it's past, and you think, oh no, maybe you read it in a book or someone triggered it in a conversation. Is there a validation that you know that you're honestly there?
Yes, because I think that it will validate itself to you somehow. It might not be that moment that you're experiencing it, but later on, or you have a recurring dream. So dreams, not all dreams, but some dreams are really significant. So many people say I'm having the same dream over and over again. Well, I would say, which I had myself, it's catching my attention. There's something more to this. That I was having dreams as a child. I didn't know why, but I know the dream kept recurring. Today I understand because I realize that this is possible.
I had a dream the other night that we had so much work coming in, and I said to you, I got it, and you said to me, you can't possibly handle all of this work by yourself.
That's not a dream, that's an everyday meeting. But Sally,
how real was that?
Don't we live multiple lives on different frequencies?
I knew you were asking.
And we only are cognizant of the one presently that we're talking about.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean, because we pick to be cognizant, it doesn't mean that we can't pick to be cognizant somewhere else.
Absolutely, 100%, because everything is happening all at the same time. Absolutely. So whilst and Aldo used to explain this to me, and I couldn't understand that. I really was having difficulty understanding that. But because I am aware of it today, it makes much more sense and I can comprehend it better. We're sitting here right now, and it sounds ridiculous, but we're also somewhere else and somewhere else. We're not just in two, we can be in 10 different places. We are somebody else somewhere. And I kind of had proof of that without going into the whole story. But he told me who I was, another aspect, I like to call it, of myself. And I said, well, how is that possible? But I actually found myself, because Google's been very helpful to me, of the person that he mentioned that I was, there on the internet, and the characteristics of this person, and it's weird, well, what I was experiencing while I was talking about this person. So to me, I'm able to get the validation. If it's something I can't quite comprehend, it will show itself to me. So I am convinced that this is not the only place we are.
So if you can validate the past, is there a way to look into what your future lives may be?
Absolutely, but you've got to be in touch. You know, I've told you things and we've said things and, that have come about. So it's no different. I've had predictions and premonitions, but the ones that I've had, I haven't had the date and place of when that's going to happen. It does happen, but one took 9 years after I thought that I had just had a dream. Every aspect of that was in my dream, and I saw the ending of what actually happened. But I am not predicting the time and place. But even if I was, I'm glad more people are getting into this, because, you know, the police use many psychics actually, because they've either had a premonition or can sense where someone is that they're looking for. So it's all together. It's every part. It depends what I'm picking basically for myself to be able to predict.
And I can certainly validate your predictions because, you know, just recently you had a prediction of people falling. And then, you know, your friend Mindy fell and Freddie fell, and I have an injury from a previous fall that came into light. So it's just one thing after another. Your premonitions are true.
For me, I can only talk for myself, but for myself, and even doing this show has fine-tuned a lot of things that because we are all able to do this, but I was lucky enough to have it happen when it wasn't coincidence, it was synchronicity. So I have these things, but I'm fine-tuning it much more. Now you see that I'm doing much more when we're just talking psychically than I did when we first met 2 or 3 years ago, because I'm fine-tuning, and I have such interest in this today that interest is showing me more and more. And this applies to the audience out there. That's all it takes, is actually like just follow what you feel, believe in it, and amazing things happen. Things that I want to happen or I think are going to happen are happening. You see that.
Well, I got a question. I can understand you living in multiple dimensions. I get that part. The part that I find intriguing is that if we are on the same frequency of that dimension, then you'll be able to see things that I can't. And I'll be able to see things that you can't. But people will think you're psychic, or you're, for lack of a better word, some people think that it's hypnosis, some people think that it's kinetic energy, but it's actually the interlude of multiple frequencies from different people, which is really difficult to understand.
Well, that's actually really interesting, Freddie, because I've never looked at it that way. I don't believe we change where we are in our energy. If it's on a higher, which it is, because I'm able to do this, it's higher right now. I think that would apply to the entities that I am. I think we'd all be, I don't know the answer. Some of who I am could be on a higher dimension, higher energy. I feel that we're actually all on the same. So if I want an answer to something, if it is, okay, it's coming to me. If it's something of a premonition, that's not coming from my other selves. That's coming from a higher energy. That higher energy is talking, I'm getting this really strongly, talking to the entities that I basically am. And if anyone's tuning in, I haven't gone crazy. Okay, now. So if any of us, of the aspects of our different selves, wants a question that's higher than the higher energy that we're on, it comes the same way that I'm answering this. If that makes sense, I hope I'm explaining it correctly.
Then it's how you're answering it. That's the point. How you're able to answer.
Because I am able to, because I'm already on a higher frequency. They're not going to be giving that same message to someone that doesn't, we can receive it, but we've got to be able to receive it. So if someone's on a low, right or wrong, if they're on a lower frequency, they're not going to get the message. It's like, why would they waste their time? We were talking about that the other day. To someone that doesn't even want to know. They're not going to give you these things. This takes time and energy. I have done a lot of that. Not again because I'm special, because I've chosen to do this, which we all can. So I'm getting more messages than someone that's going, I don't want to listen to it. They're just wasting their time, just like here. Basically, if I talk to someone and they don't want to know, I have enough sense today, but I didn't have it in the beginning, to walk away and to talk to someone that's on my frequency, because that's important for me to learn. I have to learn from other people too.
Yeah, so as much as you've taught us and you're teaching your audience, Where do you go to learn more, and how do you evolve?
Well, here's the problem. It's hard. It's not hard. There are people out there that obviously know a lot more than me. But I was lucky enough to have Aldo for 18 years, who knew a lot more. Though he says I was catching up with him, but he was way beyond where I am now. And so I've had training. I look on, and now I didn't want to in the beginning, because for me, what I was saying, I didn't necessarily want it validated, but at a point that I said to myself, if I had been listening to someone and came up with what I'm saying, I thought maybe I'm getting that message from the person who is higher than me. That's how I'm learning. But today, what I'm saying, I see repeated on like Gaia or on YouTube, of the same answers that I get from my spirit guides, because I've already voiced it.
So more recently, you've had some experiences with alien situations.
Right.
And what do you suppose their message has been to you, having become more prevalent in your life recently?
You want to take a commercial and come back?
Yes, yes, that would be good.
Break. Good
Yeah.
segue.
Yeah. See you guys in a minute or two. Don't go
A
anywhere.
True Story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
My story starts at 4 or 5 years old. My name is Sally Barnard, and I was born at the end of the Second World War, in the middle of an air raid siren going off. My parents were in a movie theater, and my mother went into labor. My father ran out of the movie theater, but there was no cabs to be available because everybody is running for cover. However, they found one, and the taxi driver was given the address to take my father and my mother to the hospital. As my mother was in labor, about a half an hour, I arrived at exactly midnight. I think I was fed messages at a very early age. My parents used to like to play cards, and they had a card game every Wednesday or Thursday night at home when I was a baby. And I actually said to them one day, why do you keep waking me up at night? The card game is waking me up, and I can't get back to sleep so quickly. And they looked at each other and they said, we're not really waking her up. They were quite away from my bedroom. And they called in a psychic to say, what in the world is going on? And the psychic said that I'm getting many messages that are waking me up at night. I thought whatever I was experiencing, other people were experiencing too. You don't know until you realize that you are different. Many things were happening to me, things that were unexplainable to me. What I had dreamt was happening. I could sense many things, and the things that I was sensing were coming about, but something was going on. I will explain to you everything. You're ready. Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com, or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybarnard.com. Now back to the show. I can't remember because I'm...
Okay.
We're back.
So my question was, lately, you've been having more experiences with alien connections coming to you late at night. Big lights outside of your bedroom, or me hearing you scream out once and coming into your room and finding you like paralyzed. Maybe I interrupted an abduction. What do you suppose this recent influx of alien interaction is doing, and what is it meant to teach you?
Well, I think it's teaching me more and more and more about, I mean, I totally believe this and I know what I've experienced, but for me to talk more about it, actually, for anybody that's into what I'm doing, I think we're getting more and more messages, because our Earth right now is shifting. And I've explained a little bit of that to you. So the people that are able to hear this and see what's going on, they're speeding it up. There really is no time. But I really, truly, you talk to people, they say time is just flying by. It actually is, although there's no time. But in our illusion, as I want to call this, things are speeding up. So there's an urgency. There's an urgency for people that can do this, that feel that they have a message to tell the world. Now is the time to do it. So they're helping me to put this out by my own experiences with them.
All right, so I asked you a question during commercial break. Do you think now is the time to spread our message bigger?
100%, Dawn. Anybody that feels that they have a message, even if they don't understand it, we need to bring this out today. To bring we're off balance, but all is not. We can correct this, but we need to do it in our time soon. So the more that people come out with these things, or like be on the lookout. If you hear something in your ear, maybe it's a message that you're meant to tell. I'm going to say the world, because we need as much help as we can get from anybody that can understand this. Now is the time. Absolutely, now is the time.
So you feel the aliens are here helping, guiding us, saying,
yeah,
we need to push
this is
out
really
more.
real. You know, even though I'd had all these experiences, it was deeper. I needed to understand more, because although it was happening to me, it was hard to believe it. But the more now, over the years, I totally am 100% a believer. I can't deny this. So anybody that feels like, oh, maybe this isn't correct, or maybe... Now is the time for people to understand this, and more people are. I've definitely been abducted. You saw that. You come into my room, I think twice now. One I definitely remember, where I'm totally paralyzed. It was meant for you to come out there, because also it was meant for you to tell me, because after all, I had validation. I had validation from Aldo, because he gave me so much, but he's not here. So I think the fact that I screamed out for help, which I don't usually do in my abductions, was for you to actually see that I couldn't talk. I was just laying there. So I need validation just like anybody else. But it's happening so frequently to me now. There is nothing that is happening to me that I can doubt.
Which in
Nothing.
turn gives me the validation with everything you've been talking to me about and
Right.
teaching me.
Right, because you can't deny seeing me. Not, you know, you woke me up I guess I was in the middle of an abduction.
Mm-hmm.
They put me back very fast. I don't know.
but do you ever
yeah.
wonder why you've been chosen? Or do you just remember and you think other people have been chosen and they don't know?
Other people have been chosen and they don't know. It takes, for me, I was really stubborn, because I was later in the later stages of my life that this all happened. It didn't mean that it wasn't happening earlier. Of course it was happening. My first inclination, and people say this too, is that I'm going, but this only happened when I, you know, but in my middle age, I'm going to say, but it's been happening since a child, but I didn't know it wasn't happening to other people. So when I started to open up, people will say, oh, I know somebody that happened, and it happened as a child. But what they were telling me, the same things happened to me. So I just thought everybody was this way.
You know, it's extraordinary that on the way here today, we had this conversation in the car.
We did?
Yes. When you told me about Marita and how
Oh, yes.
somebody
Oh,
came
yes.
to her,
Yes.
and how Aldo came to you.
Yeah.
And you know, how do they know who to choose?
Well, as I said, I think I said earlier in the show, they're only going to choose someone that's listening. They're not going to start explaining, I'm here because of this and that, and I want you to believe it. we have a responsibility to ourselves. This is really important, actually. They can pick anybody, but why? If I'm having this conversation, why would I pick somebody who's sitting in front of me and saying, I don't believe a word of what you're saying?
I just think it's miraculous that Dawn would ask you that same question that we had the conversation about in the car over here.
Synchronicity.
You know, I'm always so intrigued by, I call them walking guides. So I guess Marita had one as well, or has
She
one?
actually had someone even, well, I'm not saying better than Aldo, but a different situation. If you're watching Marita, I know she doesn't mind talking about it, someone actually appeared from somewhere else, came here, I won't mention any names, but came here for 6 months, gave us so much validation of so many things, and he disappeared again. Yeah, it sounds weird. And when she first told me this story, I wasn't as much into it, but I knew what she was showing. He even left drawings here, came in the same way as he exited.
So then I wonder why, and what is she supposed, or you, or anyone else who's been chosen, to do with this information? How?
Spread it, Dawn. She told me shortly after I met Marita, and I've known her now maybe about 25 years, she would give me what had happened, how she met him, and what had happened from there on in. So we were both I was getting the benefit too, because she's telling me whether I could understand it. She understood it more because she had the person in front of her. I never got to meet this person. But it's absolutely true. He came in, and there's a way of doing this. She came in, spoke to her for 6 months, and just disappeared without a trace, exactly as he had come in. It was a little hard for him to function here. And you know what? They put a lot of this into movies. But the people that write the movies, we go, oh, well, it's a little far-fetched. But they're getting it from the truth. Some of the people that are writing these movies know exactly what's going on. And they'll only show you so much also, that's another story. But they are trying to open up to us that there is so much more going on, and it's so important. So here, listen to your dreams. Listen to like your inner voice, because it does have a message. And it doesn't matter right now if you believe or not where it's coming from. For me, I believe 101% everything that I hear is completely real, coming from somewhere else, because I've proved that to myself. But that's taken me a long time. And I'm getting more in tune with it because I've chosen to. Not everybody chooses to do this. That's okay too.
So what is the message? Listen to your inner voice.
Listen to your inner voice. Listen if you're told, and I bring this up many times, if you go one way in traffic or whatever, just it's coming. It's maybe, let's call it your higher self. It's coming, which I do choose to use sometimes because it is coming from somewhere else, your higher self. And you know what? I'm just suddenly seeing it can be coming from another aspect of yourself. So that person that Aldo told me who I was, and it was completely validated, his name and everything on the internet, was walking around trying to teach me more as Sally or Zena here. Zena could be somewhere else. I don't know, she's here right now, but she could be somewhere else.
It's interesting. He's just watching you.
Tell me, ask me something.
Listening to him.
I like your questions, Freddie, because it's...
You speak very much about vibrational energy, and then there's the empathetic side of you. And there are those who very recently said that you have saved my life. And I said, yes, she did it twice, as a matter of fact. And recently I had a situation with a fractured vertebrae, and we didn't even know it was fractured. And it could very well have paralyzed me, or a different human being might have died from it.
Right.
And for me, it healed. And months ago, I had a very, very short-lived bout with cancer. It lasted from October to May, and I was cancer-free. And it was brought to my attention that you have these, the vibrational energy, the powers to heal. Not that you're a heretic, but that your vibrational energy.
It's to do with, just to help out a little bit here. I'm going to say again, because I don't want to, oh my gosh, look what I've done. I don't know. But I do know that I try very hard most of the time to be on a higher vibrational energy. And if you tap into that, and that's entirely up to the person that is sick, but I think somehow you did do that, Steve, because I try to be positive. both ways affect me, the positivity and the negativity. So I may react on both sides of that coin.
Yeah.
But I think that it was the higher vibrational energy. I don't know who it was, but I was an instrument at that point. It could have been Aldo, it could have been your own spirit guide, it could have been you. But something did intervene, and you were with me. So I can't choose to say it was definitely me. I don't know. But the fact is, you are better from all of this. So as long as you keep, or anybody keeps that higher vibrational energy, it doesn't work all the time, of course, because you'd be walking around on cloud nine. We do sometimes go down and question what's happening, but snap out of it and keep as positive as you can. And I always talk about a higher vibrational energy, and if anybody doesn't like me, or they're sending me vibrations, or I'm feeling it, I'm cutting myself off 100%, because I proved that to myself the other day. I opened my phone, and I'm reading. I did not pull this up. It was something that Lynn, who had the show in the cafe, had transcribed. We were transcribing something, and the message was coming from Aldo because he mentions Aldo. But the message was, keep that higher vibrational energy. Do not have people near you. I mean, it's hard to follow, of course, but it will hurt you eventually if you sink to that level. And I've chosen today not to do that. Of course, I did it many times in my life. It hadn't worked for me because it continued to be a bad vibration. But I've chosen to really understand this. And it's not just me, anybody. Just tell them, be happy, have gratitude for, we could have a far worse life than we're having right now. That's why we need to do that for the earth too. Keep a positive vibrational energy. And if someone doesn't want to hear, I personally, I'm only talking personally for myself, have to, as best I can, walk away from that situation. Keep a high vibration. It'll help everybody.
I definitely noticed in my recent, health situations that your demeanor changes as I'm getting better.
Well, yeah.
It's like I'm zapping your energy away from you.
Well, without being rude, Steve, anybody that is on a lower vibration, I'm an empath, as Dawn would tell you too, that I physically can react to that. And it's not your fault or anybody's fault, but I know that I have to detach from, as anybody should, detach from someone that's completely negative, or you're getting vibrations. I can only get my message out.
Well, injury and illness always vibrate at the lowest spectrum.
Absolutely.
So when you could be a very positive person, and then you get some bad news about your health, and all of a sudden you tank, and that just makes it worse.
And I'm not blaming you for this at all, but
everybody.
But I was on a lower vibrational energy. I never have gotten sick. You know that. I got COVID, I got the norovirus, something else happened to me. Then I had to take myself to hospital a few weeks ago. I knew I was sinking down. I have to stop that. I feel fine now because I'm on a high vibration. These illnesses, I'm not saying we bring it upon ourselves, but they do. And please, if anybody's sick, I'm sending you good vibrations, which we need to do ourselves. There's lessons to learn from sickness too. So I'm not blaming anybody, but I know where I need to be in my life, and it's helped me, and I have to stay there. As anybody else that feels the same way. But we're still going to get problems, we're still going to get sickness, but maybe we can just look at that sickness a different way to higher our vibrational energy and get better.
Yes, and you always say, always be positive.
Yeah.
Sally, do you see Steve's guides? Or do you hear them?
No, but I do get messages from him from things that I would not know from relatives of yours or people that have passed. I've said things that there's no way I would know, like sayings or things like that. Yeah, I don't know his guides.
You've known Steve, 20 years?
About 25 years.
25, but we were not together.
Not as a couple.
No, I understand, but did you ever feel his guides when you were seeing of him?
No, because actually this started, I hadn't even had this happen to me when we first,
Right.
who I am. Right. No, we met in a working situation, so I wasn't aware what was going to happen to me. It happened afterwards.
The first time we actually dated was at the beginning, or shortly after the beginning of Sally's metamorphosis, with Aldo. And I was coming out of a 28-year marriage, and I just wasn't ready for a relationship, but I just wasn't ready to accept what Sally was going through at that time. But, back in February of 22, I was a different person. And that's when we started dating and ultimately got married. And it's been a whole whirlwind of, information for me and love and everything else.
But anything that, I do believe that this was meant to be because you were ready. And it's hard to tell somebody that they're ready, but when Aldo came into my life, I was ready. I didn't know I was ready, but why would he have been in my life? He was looking for me. He only came when it was appropriate. Had he have come a couple of years earlier in my life, which he didn't, but he knew me, never approached me, only after I'd had a significant thing happen to me, that I'm flying all around and painting, which I didn't know, he tells me what was happening to me. Had he have said, this is what's going to happen to you, it wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have believed it. Had he met me too, it's the same thing with anybody.
And as you've reminded me, numerous times, that you could never be with somebody who wasn't willing to learn the message here and to operate on that higher vibration.
Because you have to be on the same frequency. So if one party is going to be, I'm not referring to myself, but if one party is negative or doesn't believe this, and the person that is trying very hard to be positive and they're being brought down again, there's no balance there. But that's just my opinion. I mean, if anybody is with, you can still teach the person too. But you teach by example, and hopefully I've done that with you, because you've seen what's happened. You could only really explain this and teach by example.
Yeah. But I love your question, Dawn. Does Sally see my guides or talk to my guides? I've often, try to contact whoever it is might be on my side. And just nothing comes to me vividly. I mean, I'm sure there are forces working in the background, or I probably would be pushing up daisies right now. So
She's pretty special. So I had a vision of a little girl with long blonde hair and angel wings in a meditation that said she was manifested by someone and given to me to help me out. I don't know her name, but she was sitting on a little park bench, like a little fairy.
Okay, I'm getting the name, and I've said it before
Do you
because
see
it's
her?
attached to me too. I do as you say, and her name is, it's like Cecilia, who was actually a friend of Aldo's. She's a little girl. She's little. She's very pretty, very
little girl.
beautiful. She's got beautiful blue eyes, curlyish hair, absolutely. Yes, she's absolutely with you, and I believe from a previous lifetime this is, but she's still around you. I think she was your daughter. Oh my God, it's making me want to cry, because we were tied together too in other lifetimes. I don't know why that's happening, but she's never left you either, just like Elizabeth too.
you've just given me your goosebumps.
Yeah, I'm crying. But she was your daughter in a lifetime. I don't know whether I was in that lifetime with you, but I do know that I know her. Yeah.
So interesting things. So you see other guides?
Well,
Because you feel Elizabeth, you feel Steve's guides. Freddie, you had named a guide for him the last time.
well, because I don't always remember what I say when I'm in this. Yes, because we may not all want to hear this, but we are all connected. Okay, so that everybody in this room, this is synchronicity, absolutely. How do I meet you, Dawn? And we brought this up before, that I'm bringing a couple of pieces of art in, and you'd seen my art. Because when you're connected to someone, you're also connected to part of their life story here or previous lifetimes. So to validate that right in the beginning, because we don't always pick that up, or we'll have synchronicity somewhere. Okay, and with you too, Steve, something will happen to both of us at the same time. But it's these little things that show you that this is synchronicity. Wake up to this, because truly you are my family here. We've connected. We are together here. That doesn't mean that you take on the responsibilities of a family, but you actually do feel that connection. Your soul, call it your soul family. And that very often is with people that we're not relatives of, because sometimes in situations, family people that you have in your family or cousins or whatever it is are connected to you, but not always in the best way. I mean, I've experienced that myself from I love my daughter dearly, and I will miss her and I think of her, but we were not you know, we were at each other's throats a lot, but we do that, well, not throats literally, to learn from them. So they're actually, it's the love that they're giving us to show us what's going wrong. We don't always see that because we go, oh, I can't take any more of this. But it's they're doing it from love. We're both doing it from love. That just came to me, but that's also very important because the toughest lessons are usually with family because you feel more. So that's one part of the reason.
Or sometimes loss will create voids, and sometimes illness will create voids. And if all of us are connected, then all of us have to feed to supplement the void and continue the growth, because you don't want to dwell in the negative. It's just going to make it worse. So if you have 12 people and all of you are synchronized, just like you said, the reason for being is if when one begins to falter for whatever reason, then that circle begins to grow the difference. It fills the void. I think, though, and if I'm not mistaken, there's something, a feeling of the guff in Jewish tradition. It's the overseer to life, and it's pictured as a child. And sometimes that child is vacant, and you have to fill the soul for the child. There was a movie that I saw once based on that. And sometimes it was sending the message out that people fill that void simply because they're in unison.
You're sitting with 3 Jewish people here, so what would that be?
But then again, they're the ones that made the movie. The Catholics may have the same thing in another way, I don't know. But I think that the bottom line here, it isn't the religion, it's just
It's the word.
It's just the
maybe.
word, that's
right.
right. It's
That's
the
why I'm
lack
saying
of
it's
it.
not religion. I mean, we're all
But there was
one.
something, I don't know, I'll look it up to see
That's
what they were
interesting.
trying to.
I'm not
establish.
aware of it, but it's.
I mean, Steve came into this thing, I remember the first time he was sitting in here and the alien conversations were having, and he was sitting in that chair over there, and I said, did you know this? And he says, absolutely not. Remember that?
Yeah, this has been an incredible 3 years. What I've learned and what I've grown to accept, and just it's
See, that's
been
the
amazing.
key to this, Steve, is what you've learned to accept. It's not just you. People are skeptical. I was skeptical. When Alder came in, he had to give me strong messages that I couldn't deny. So we're all similar in that respect. But once you open up to it, you know, once you begin to believe all this, that maybe this is not just craziness, then more and more happens. As I said before, they'll give us more. They're not going to give us more than what we can take. And I've heard that before, even with problems. You're not going to get more than you can handle. People say that all the time. They can say, God is giving that to us. He will not give you more than you can handle. And that's very true, very true. In my particular case, I see that.
Until you go through something where you better believe in something greater.
Well, it says, Freddie, the guf in Hebrew translates meaning body in Jewish mysticism, and the chamber of guf, G-U-F, is called the treasury. So it's the treasury of souls in your body.
Correct.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm going to tell you.
Wow, look at you.
Look at me.
Rabbi Freddie.
I think that, I don't know where that came
Freddie,
from,
go,
by the way.
It was either your guide or somebody else's
Someone's
guide.
talking in your
Go,
ear.
Freddie, go. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's actually what you're doing now is very similar to some of the messages I get. I look it up, and Google will answer it right away.
It says the guf is the term in the Talmud used to refer to the repository of all unborn souls. Literally, the word guf means body, and the Talmud says the son of David will not arrive until there is no more soul in the body. That there are a certain number of souls in heaven waiting to be born.
Yeah, that's true too.
Which is very true.
That's very true. Very true. So that was a
Wow.
significant.
Now you gave me the
message.
goosebumps.
And if you haven't seen it, and this is one of the things that helped me from the beginning, except the teachings, Sally has been imparting, is I saw the animated movie Soul, and it's about exactly what you just said. All these souls waiting to, be delivered to the
There's
proper body.
actually, which I heard from Aldo, I wasn't actually, well, I was given the message from him, that people are lining up to want to come to Earth,
Yeah.
because it's quite an experience. There are other places that we can go to. We don't have to choose this particular place, but people are absolutely waiting, and that kind of explains it a little
Yeah,
bit.
if you haven't
I think-
seen that animated movie Soul, I highly recommend it. It will give you some insight into what we're talking about.
All right, Sally, one more minute. You want to wrap it up?
Okay, I take this opportunity to thank my audience. Keep listening. More and more things are happening on this show. Even I'm intrigued, so please listen in. We'll see what's going to happen next. Bye-bye for now.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.